The release of Last Epoch is drawing close, and a lot of people asking themselves, well, what makes this action RPG different from, let's say, Path of Exile or even Diablo 4? And that is exactly what we will answer here. So let's jump directly into the game. And the first thing I want to talk about are the classes. We have up to 15 classes you can choose from. 15? Wait a minute more. There are only 5 you are showing us right now. Yes, because at the beginning you are playing the base class, which in this case is just the mage, right? And then when you have played a little bit of the main story and you have reached around level 15, you will be able to choose one of the 3 subclasses every class has, and those subclasses can wildly change how you actually play the game. Like with the mage, right? You are playing a mage, firebolts, ice bolts, the whole balls, you're utilizing. But if you don't really want that, you can also play a spellblade, which is a melee mage, right? If you want to play the battle mage, you can absolutely do that. Or if you want to go absolutely crazy and fry your mind, you try the Rune Master, which is basically just the invoker from Dota 2. So there are tons of classes you can choose from, and as I said, they can completely change how you play the game and how you play the class. Speaking of classes, let's talk about the talent trees. The talent trees are available for every class, and yes, it is talent trees as a multiple, and you are starting out with your base talent tree. As you can see, it's pretty simple. The more you're moving forward in your talent tree, the more skills you are unlocking, but then you have to specialize in your subclass, as we have talked before that, and you can see right here, right, that talent tree looks a little bit bigger and also gives you more abilities, and you have to make some really meaningful choices here. But to make it even crazier, just because you didn't choose the other 2 subclasses doesn't mean you cannot use their talents. You can actually. You can see it right here. I did it with the Void Knight, even though I mastered the Paladin. Yes, I'm not getting the passives and I'm not getting the special skill, but everything up till the middle of this tree, aka the chain, I can put points into and then utilize for my build, which gives me far more options how I can create the character of my choice. And speaking of going crazy, let's talk about the skills. The skills in Last Epoch are crazy because every skill, well, up to 5 skills you can choose from, has their own talent tree. Yes, I kid you not. You can see it right here. I used Rive, and Rive has his own talent tree, and there are some really meaningful choices in here. This is not just your usual, okay, increases the fire ignite chance, it increases the damage and all that. Yes, those abilities are totally in those trees, but later on you will have to make decisions on this is now becoming void damage. This will actually triple when you trigger echoes. Or there are actually some skills which will trigger other skills if you utilize them, right? So let's say I'm using Rive, I will have a chance at some point to trigger the hammer throw, right? And so you can even combine your skills more and more up to the point where you have skill chains by just technically using one ability and going through them, which is just insane when you think about the possibilities on how you want to skill your class and what type of class you want to create for yourself. And as I said, every single ability has this talent tree, besides of, I think, 2 abilities right now, but that will probably also change in the future. It doesn't matter. The point is, there's a lot to think about. And the good news, you can respec at any given point. You will easily get the points back, and then you can just try something else, and you are not bound to the spec you just tried. The only thing you are always bound to is the subclass you mastered. So if you want to play another subclass, you have to unfortunately create another character. Now let's talk quickly about crafting. Crafting is something really amazing in Last Epoch because it actually allows you to craft the stats you want. You find a cool item, but you realize, there's int on it, there's chill on hit on it. I'm not really a fan of that. Well, you can erase that, and then you can just add whatever stat you so desire. You need melee cold damage, no problem. You don't like cold damage, well, make it melee fire damage. It is all up to you to decide, okay, what do I want to put on this item? And even crazier, you can upgrade your items to uniques or even legendaries later on. So even if you're not lucky and you're not find the right items, the crafting might be the way to help you to get to the item you really need. And again, it makes it far more easier instead of just choosing some random stats, right? Speaking about something random, but not too random, but equally insane, is the endgame. There are 3 big endgame activities right now in Last Epoch, and one of them is the so-called Monolith of Fate. And if you have played Path of Exile, this might look familiar to you because it is basically the Atlas system they built into this game. So you were choosing your next map, and on those maps you were getting specific rewards, but you were also getting specific modifiers, and more importantly, the enemy gets specific modifiers they are taking with them into the next map. So the more you are playing the maps, the harder the whole thing gets, but also the more rewards you get, and there are tons of choices you can do. So at the beginning you are a little bit more limited, but then this whole web of maps is opening up and you have to make some meaningful decision, where do you go next? Because depending on the enemy modifiers, depending on the combination you are creating, you can get murdered in seconds or you can survive with ease when you are doing a map, and that is all up to you and your decisions. The next endgame activity, but also can be leveling activity, are dungeons. You see those icons here on the map. Whenever you see this icon, that means there is a dungeon, in this case the Soulfire Bastion, which is an endgame dungeon. And those dungeons are quite challenging and also give you a lot of loot, which is really nice for all the people who love to run dungeons in the free time. And the good news is you just need a key to get in there, and those keys drop quite a bit, especially when you have reached endgame. You will get more keys, but you already have some chances while the leveling phase to actually get some of those keys, so you can start immediately out in those dungeons. The third, but certainly not last endgame activity is the arena. You can have multiple tiers where you are also getting a big boss fight at the end and then get some extra loot, or you can actually start the endless arena. But not only that, the arena even has its own ladder system already integrated, where you can see who rules the ladder in softcore, hardcore, how many players, which classes, and you can also see what skills they have been using, so that you might recreate the build they are running on the top. So you already get that right from the get-go, and you don't have to wait for a season or patch for this to happen. But now let's talk about the last thing, and that is the trading system in Last Epoch. Yes, Last Epoch is coming with a fully established trading system. That means you can be self-found, and if you're going self-found, you will just get more items from enemies or bosses, or you decide that you want to use the auction house, and well, you can go to the bazaar and sell your items there. There's much more to it. There's a whole system in place which allows you to switch between self-fund and using the bazaar. Also very important to note, there are some rankings involved with the factions which are offering you the bazaar / the cell phone system, and then you can choose there and go down that path. It will take a little bit, but it will be pretty cool to experience when it comes out with the release version of the game. It's not implemented in the beta yet, but again, the game is coming out in 2 to 3 days when this video releases. And then again, you can choose the faction you want to join to utilize the bazaar, or be a self-found person and just get far more loot from enemies and bosses. But that's the end on what makes Last Epoch different. It's quite a bit, and if you are looking for a game which is sitting in between Diablo and Path of Exile, then you should definitely check out Last Epoch. I would definitely do it. So if you want to see more videos down the line on my channel here with Last Epoch, don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Thank you so much for watching. I see you next time. Stay safe. Bye-bye.